I hate that this is political this year. You know, the worst thing that ever happened is this is a presidential election year because it has made all this very political. And it shouldn't be, because this should be about us and it shouldn't be about them. And it shouldn't be about who the next president is. It should be about how many lives we can save right now. And every day we watch in New York as the governor gets on and begs for equipment, and the mayor, who I'm not a big fan on, gets on and begs for equipment. And then at 5 o'clock, White House comes on and tells you how, oh, we're doing the greatest job of all time, while we're sitting here in the biggest city in the world begging for equipment on a daily basis, and they act like they don't hear us. And then yesterday, the president basically accuses them of basically sending the stuff out the back door. Now, you know what? If he thought that was the case, he should have had the military up here handling the hospital, handling the supplies, and making sure that's not the case. Not saying somebody should investigate that. If that was the case, he should be investigating that. Have the military investigate that. We are in a time of crisis. Every day they tell us we're at a war. If it's a war, you don't let them steal your supplies. He basically yesterday accused the hospital of padding the numbers they need because they were trying to sell or sending out the back door the masks. How do you go from using 20,000 masks to 300,000 masks? Can't be done. Go investigate that. You go investigate that. You have your military, your FEMA investigate that. That's your job. You're in charge of this. If this is a war, they're stealing your supplies, what do? You tell the media to go investigate it? What, and get back to you in 6 weeks or 2 months as more people die on a daily basis? That's what's wrong here. There's a disconnect. We're watching one thing happen in our city on the 11 o'clock news every night. We're watching people die, and now we know people who died. Now we know people who are sick. And I've never seen people as scared as they are right now to get this, because we heard, first of all, oh, unless you're really old or you're really not well, this thing will not bother you. I've seen guys who were 35 years old, they're dead. 40 years old, they're dead. And they were healthy, they were specimens, and now they're dead. So that's got to scare everybody. And we're not seeing 1 or 2 people die now in our neighborhood. We're seeing them die by the 10s and 20s by the day. They're bringing people out of the hospital in Queens in body bags, 5 minutes from where he grew up. We here know this isn't right. You get the guys in the metropolitan area and ask the cops in New York if it's right now. Ask the firemen in New York who are answering those police calls answering those ambulance calls if it's right now. Ask the nurses and the doctors in that hospital if it's right now. They know it's not. They don't have the supplies they need. So don't give me the My Pillow guy doing a song and dance up here on a Monday afternoon when people are dying in Queens. Get the stuff made, get the stuff where it needs to go, and get the boots on the ground. Treat this like the crisis it is. And how can you have a scoreboard that says 2,000 people have died and tell us it's okay if another 198,000 die? That's a good job. How is that a good job in our country? It's a good job if nobody else dies. Not if another 198,000 people die. So now 200,000 people are disposable? How can that be okay? Why? Because Fauci got up there and said, well, if we had just sent you back to work, 2 million people had died. So if we lose 200,000 and we're America, we did a good job? We're supposed to be better than everybody else. This is real, folks. People are dying. This isn't overreacting. People are dying. I got guys that I know that are saying to me, man, what is going on? I just heard from a guy. I sent him to the hospital. I know a guy who said to me, I pulled a few strings, got my buddy in the hospital. He wasn't feeling well. He's dying right now. This was 2 days ago. Right now, he's in intensive care. He's dying. He can't breathe. I have a friend of my son's. His father's, his daughter's father was a doctor. He treated people. He's dead. The man's dead. How did he get it? By treating patients in our country. That can't happen in our hospitals. We have to be better than that. We're the best hospitals in the world. We're supposed to heal people. We're supposed to be miracle workers. We're Americans. And all of a sudden, it's okay if we lose another 198,000 people. It's not okay to me. What happens if I lose somebody I love? What happens if I lose my friends? Here's a thing that a friend of mine sent me from one of the doctors in the hospital in White Plains. In White Plains, it will peak in 3 weeks, in our estimate. And over the month after that, right now, the hospital basically only has virus patients in it. When it starts to peak in the next week or two, there will be no place to put them. There will be no ventilators for them. There will be no doctors to take care of them. As a cardiologist, we are being rationed. Some of us are only allowed in the hospital. Some of us are only allowed in the office. Others are only allowed to be at home. So there is no way for us to go back. What does everybody do when they get sick? That is in White Plains. I have other ones from other doctors. They told me this is the worst thing they've ever seen in their lives in our hospitals. On Long Island, in New York City, in Westchester. We supposedly have the best hospitals in the world. What happens when it happens in the countryside, in some rural county, where they have one hospital for 100 miles, and then people are out in the street dying, or they're on their farmland dying? It's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. The lady in Atlanta said last night, the mayor of Atlanta said last night, in 10 days, I will not be able to keep people alive. It happened in New York already. They're dying already in the streets. They're dying in the parking lots in New York. This isn't going to be the only place it happens in. Check out Detroit. Check out Chicago. Check out New Orleans. Check out Atlanta. It's going to happen in all those cities. Dr. Gottlieb said, this is going to happen in 7 or 8 cities at the same time, and we are not going to be able to respond. This is what they feared for months. This is why they wanted the equipment. And we got the White House in doing a press conference, and they're giving me the My Pillow guy doing basically a speech, like he's doing one of his commercials at 3 a.m. Well, we have people dying in the hospitals in New York. That can't be the response. None of us can actually, I don't care what your politics are, you can't think that that's what America is supposed to respond to. If you don't think we're better than that, then shame on you. We have to be better than that. We are better than that. We have handled every crisis that's ever come our way. What are we going to do? You're telling me that we have lost 2,800 and some odd people right now, and it's okay if we lose another 197,000 to this virus? That's okay? In America? That can't be okay. That can't be okay. That's not how we are built. We have got to do better. These factories have to run 24 hours a day. Stop showing up in Washington and pat somebody on the back. Stay where your factory is and figure out how to churn out 10 more than you're supposed to. Then take a bow. Then tell me what you did. Don't fly to Washington and do a commercial for me. I don't need that. Quietly get something done in your factory. I don't need a curtain call. And stop telling me you're doing a great job, because you're not. Because if you're doing a great job, then people wouldn't be dying in our parking lots. And every day, I watch the mayor today, and I don't really like the mayor. But I watched them today say, you know what? If they don't get the equipment here, people are going to die. People are already dying. I've got doctors that I've known for 20 years telling me, I have never seen anything like this, ever. Ever. And we haven't even hit the peak yet. And I saw Fauci today, and he scared the heck out of me because he said, they said to him, tried to pin him down to a number, and he said, listen, I don't know how many weeks it's going to be till we can get back to work. And I understand the economy is going to be ravaged, and it is going to be ravaged. We all know that. But that comes second to saving lives. Then we'll figure out the economy. We'll all get together and we'll figure out the economy. We'll prop everybody back up. We'll do what we have to do to prop everybody back up. And we can do that. But first thing we got to do is we got to stop people that we care about and people that are our neighbors from dying. There's no way in this country a doctor should go to care for people in the hospital, and because the equipment is substandard or the virus is so strong that he is now dead. And I saw this morning on the news, hospital workers say, I fear that I'm going to get it and die. That's the conditions they're working in. They should not have to work under those conditions. We have to do better than that. And I can tell that people are afraid. Now, I understand the numbers are still that if you get it, most likely you're going to be okay. But if it turns on your body, you might not survive, because there are healthy people who have gone in there. And I've gotten texts from people who had friends who were healthy. And they said, this guy was a specimen, and now he's on a ventilator. It just completely consumed him. This is no normal flu. I don't know what it is. But it is something that when it does attack, the 10% that get attacked, the 10% who can't fight it off, they lose this battle, and they lose it quickly. And that's a scary thing. No one, you watch the news, the people I'm talking to in the metropolitan area of New York know, they're nodding their heads because they've watched this every night on the news, just like I have, and shook their head and said, how is this happening? How is this happening? Manufacture whatever we need. I don't care. I don't care where we get it from. I don't care if we steal it. Get what we need for these medical people to do their job. And then hopefully somebody's going to come up with something that works from a drug standpoint. I mean, hopefully that's the case. But we have got to make sure that until the day comes in this country where you feel that you can go to the hospital or go to the doctor and this thing is not going to kill you, no one's going to take a deep breath in this country. Because people are going to the hospital and then they are dying with this thing. Every day the number goes up, and it goes up, and it goes up. And yesterday I saw the president say, well, if we lost 200,000, we'd have done a good job. How can you say that when the number's 2,000? How can anybody say that when the number's 2,000? Back after this.